sign up. Here we go. Woohoo! Ready to roll. Admit everybody. I do have several people jumping in here. Great to see everybody. Hi, Louise. I see you. I actually see you. Oh my gosh, JC. We have not seen JC here on the Coffee Connection in quite some time. Great to see you.
Nice to see everyone.
Wow, it's been a long time. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Bill. Hi, Sheila. Awesome. So I don't get to see everybody because I see that a lot of the screens are off, but we have also, I see Tammy and a bunch of people jumping in here. Gonna let a few more people come in and we'll get this started. Of course, I have to ask, does anybody have a really great drone story? They got to get out and fly over the last week. Incredible story to share? No. All right.
Desi, I have a share.
Hi, Tammy. Was that Tammy?
Yes. Hi.
Hey.
I will just share that I got my drone probably about 3 years ago. I flew it for about 2 hours and then I crashed it right away. And I was afraid to fly ever since. And this last weekend, I finally flew again. So I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Yay!
It's good to get in the air, doesn't it?
It really did. It felt amazing.
Awesome. Yay. And now everything will just take off from there. Right?
I flew inside with a dodgeball thing going on. That was fun.
Aha.
And I threatened all the teenage guys. I'm like, do not hit the drone. Don't you dare. So they were good.
Well, that's always good to hear, right?
Right.
Linda,
Yes.
how are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm curious, what state are you in?
I'm in Las Vegas. Have a busy week of flying here. So yeah, in fact, I was supposed to be flying this morning at 7 o'clock, but when I got to the site, it was obvious they weren't ready for their final photos yet. So we'll be going back on Friday to photograph the portfolio shots.
Ah.
But I have another interesting shoot tomorrow on the Strip. This was actually a referral from somebody that I've been working on for a long time. It's not actually them, it's a company that they work with. But I'm going to be flying the Strip tomorrow.
Nice.
So, yeah, well, one property on the Strip, not the whole Strip.
Okay, but still, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Well, if you can ever share, we love to see photos.
Well,
Tammy's giving you the yay.
Well, actually, the ones that I do tomorrow will be with Circus. They had a new roof put on, well, new product, something on the pink and white tent on Circus.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm photographing for the roofing company that did that. Nice. So yes, I'll show you those photos when we're done.
Well, thank you. We would love to see them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, hi, Jade. It's been a while. Great to see you. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw you at Commercial UAV, and here we are coming up here in a few months. It'll be Commercial UAV again, right?
Yeah.
Right around the corner. So,
right around the corner.
I am going to let in a few more people here. I do have a couple of quick things that I wanted to say before we jump over to our amazing guest speakers today. And so I'm going to put a link in. I have an ask. So I've been doing this Coffee Connection for 3 years now. Holy moly, has it been 3 years? Yeah, huh? So the actual anniversary date came and went, and I went, oh yeah, I forgot, right? So I am gonna let someone else in here. I'm gonna post something in our chat. This is, a lot of people have come and gone over the 3 years. They pop in when they have a certain subject or something that they want to hear. And so the actual weekly participants has been amazing. And I just really thank everybody for joining us all the time. And there's times when I know we have a guest speaker and you are not able to come. I've had a couple people reach out. A lot of times they want to watch the replays. So I am putting the link to the replays. I want to do a big shout out to Johnny, who is apparently not even here today. But Johnny does all the video editing, which is very time consuming. So he's been wonderful that he has done that for 3 years. He has done that
Wow.
for us. So I really want to thank Johnny for that. And then here's my ask. I am 11 email addresses away from having 1,000 emails. And like I said, not everybody can come every week, but they do ask about that replay a lot. And so I am asking that we invite 11 people for next week, okay?
Okay.
Right? I want to hit that mark. I'm super excited. I cannot believe that we have had a network of almost 1,000 people, and I'm that close. So that's my ask. Please invite someone to share next week or come and participate next week. So just to give you the heads up, I already have the spotlight speaker for next week already lined up. I have some great speakers lined up, right? So we have Alexandra. She's going to be sharing about geospatial data for humanitarian needs. We're going to have July 4th off because it's a holiday. And then I also have Tom Adams coming up. He's going to share about counter UAS with aero vigilance. I have Sherm Peters coming up, and he's going to be sharing about AAM. So a lot of really great stuff already on the books. So please invite somebody and share. Plus, it's about the Women in Drones Network, right? All right. So with that, I thank you. And I am going to segue over to our spotlight speakers. And we actually have two, and it's very, very exciting today because we have Queen and Jack with us with QP DroneTech and South Africa Flying Labs. And they are going to be sharing with us today about disaster preparedness. And they have a case study that they're going to be sharing, and they'll be telling us about how they're using drones and other robotics. So I'm super excited. Queen, thank you so much for joining us. I made you spotlight, and we will make both of you spotlight. So her screen is off at the moment. There we are. We got her. We got her.
On my lipstick.
There you go. I love it. Oh. So I'm super excited. And then I did, Jack is here with us.
This side is good evening, but good morning, everyone.
So you have a PowerPoint presentation that I know you're going to be going into. I don't know if on that PowerPoint presentation, if you have just a little brief how you got into the industry. If not, we could just segue right over to your PowerPoint if you'd like.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Stacey. Thank you so much for inviting us. I'm Queen Ndlovu. I thought this will do a little bit of our introduction, but I think you have to do it ourselves. It's okay. I'll introduce myself formally when I start with the presentation. With my colleague here, Mr. Jack Shulubane. I can't see his video. I hope he has joined. We had some technical glitches just before we're supposed to join. Is everyone looking good? Or feeling good? Even I don't want to say that.
There we
Okay.
go. Yes.
Thank you.
So, and your PowerPoint looks fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be presenting to these drone game changers. The name of the company, I would like to mention that it's going to be a core presentation because I'm strong on commercialization. of businesses. While on the other hand, I'm fortunate that I work with Jack, who's my partner and my CEO, are very strong technically. So he's going to be leading us on the use case that we use using drones for disaster preparedness and informal settlement. So I'll do the easier, softer part of the presentation, where I introduce the company, why you are doing what you are doing, and where are we, and why the use case. We started as a QP DroneTech. QP stands for Queen and Partners, because we believe so much in collaborations. You see our language there, we say you dream it, we build it. We have accumulated experience because the company was established in 2018. So I think we have accumulated a bit of experience within the space of drone industry. I even went to China. I was based there for 6 months in Shenzhen, just to learn more. Around 2018, I think, is when I formed the company, to learn more about the drone industry. So QP DroneTech is more of a commercial entity. It's our PTY. As I said, that you say it's a born global, because we wanted to be all over the show. Unlike with other prior business, before we went into drone industry, we're just offering services in South Africa. So now we are all over the world. We are trying to be all over the show. Hence, we call ourselves Born Global. A little bit about myself as a person. I'm the CEO and founder of QP DroneTech. Excuse me. And I'm an award-winning CEO. I'm humble that I've been getting awards. People are recognizing our work that we have done up to this far. Recently by International Office in South Africa Ministry, and given a title of a best woman in ICT in Africa. And I'm a drone author, because we co-authored a book called Drone Professional. 2 thanks to Louis. I think he has joined us for giving us that opportunity. I'm an MD of the Flying Lab South Africa. You'll see that during the presentation, we'll be referring to 2 entities, because QP DroneTech is our PTY, but we have a social impact vehicle, our NPO, the people usually call it CSRI. And when we wear that truck, then we trade as South Africa Flying Lab. Hence, I'm saying I'm the MD of South Africa Flying Labs. And also I'm a keynote speaker. One gets invited to address people in drone conference, or either my journey, sharing my journey, lesson learned, and all of that. And I'm currently studying for a PhD degree on drone adoption by the mining industry, how they bring into play the hosting mining communities. So it's drone adoption and the social impact within the surrounding communities. So that's my thesis. So that's me in a brief. So I'll try to be quick because time is against us. My CEO, he's been into IT industry for more than 20 years, heading a lot of IT project. He's a drone pilot himself. He's the one who championed using this drone that you see in the picture during COVID, making announcement, people to observe protocol, you know. And yeah, I won't go to qualification as a BSc in Maths application in BSc in Maths, but did a lot of IT qualification that you got from UK as well. So you see that we have invested so much in human capital with this business. And also he's an MD, operational director for South Africa Flying Lab. We've got Albert, who couldn't join us, is our CA. Also, he possesses more than 24 years IT experience and aviation experience, because he designed and manufactured the first drone in South Africa that was used for military in early 1980s. So that's a team. So that's a madam inside, the drone queen. This is Albert on my left, which is on the right, Mr. Jack Shuluba, and our CEO, our CIO is myself. And it's a team. I must say that this is our office. We are in a station at Innovation Hub in Pretoria, but I must say the team has doubled now. This was taken last year. We started with manufacturing, but because we had some challenging in getting traction there, we pivoted to services. And in services, we just offer services to different customers. But now we see that it's good that we took that decision, because now it's where we got our traction as far as drone industry is concerned. So it's drone services and also drone for good through South Africa Flying Lab. So this is what we do. We decided 2 years ago to become a thought leader in disaster management spectrum, but focusing on preparedness. We do security surveillance, agriculture. We just finished a small project with Sasol where we are spraying weeds that are not welcome. You know, the weeds elimination of invasive species. So we spray those weeds using a drone, construction and maintenance. We do that and also offer services to mining industry. So this is one example of our client. It's one of the biggest corporates in South Africa where we offer security services. Just a short clip. It was during COVID times. There were a lot of riots in South Africa, and this client asked us to come and do security. But you also, the ripple effect with that, we're able to monitor the queue, you know, because they said as much as we are protecting us, but we're happy to help us to make announcement to monitor the queue. So ever since we have started, these are the partners that have come on board to work with us as a startup, and we are very grateful. We don't take that for granted. And the traction that we have enjoyed so far, we get a lot of invitation from the media houses to ask us about how we do disaster management and drone, why are we doing what we are doing, a lot of radio interviews and national TVs, you know, winning a lot of prize. So this is us in action. Also, we get invited to travel to Africa, to exhibit, Nigeria, all the countries and all of that. So I think what is important, we're going to be focusing on South Africa Flying Labs, because this is what actually supported by QP, of course, that responds to disaster preparedness using drones. So South Africa Flying Labs, I think most of you know about Flying Lab. We've got about 42 Flying Labs all over the world, especially Global South. The concept was started by We Robotics, where they decided how do we use drone for good, you know. So they started establishing flying labs, and we are appointed as a flying lab that represents South Africa. So there's 3 things that we are doing in South Africa Flying Lab. We host workshop for the STEM workshop for the young kids, for the especially rural kids and unemployed youth. And also we host conferences. So number 1 is STEM workshop. Number 2, we host webinars and conference for good, where we bring stakeholders together and social impact investors. Like last day, we hosted a very successful conference theme incorporating drones and robotics for disaster management, which became a huge success. So this is how we trying to open this platform for engagement. And lastly, we respond. If there's a disaster, as South African Flying Lab, we're supposed to be first responders. Because we've got a network of other flying lab, we are at liberty to invite other flying lab in Kenya that South Africa is in crisis. Let's come together and respond to them. To the crisis that we have. So it's 3 things that we do: STEM, hosting webinars or conferences, or respond to any form of disaster. So pictures don't lie. These are the 4 workshops we're talking about. Expose rural kids to visual reality, gaming, all the emerging technology, of course, drones technology. And we're so lucky that up to thus far, we have trained about 650 rural kids on emerging technology, thanks to UNICEF that funded the whole project. We're about to start another round. And here, this is a use case we're going to be discussing. We also target the unemployed youth. It is a youth month in South Africa because this is a youth that brought up us and to an apartheid. So that's why we celebrated the whole month. So we chose these unemployed youth. They are based in Alexander. And Alexander is an informal township in informal settlement in South Africa. It's always characterized or prone to disasters. So we wanted to identify some youth that will all train them to become youth champion, disaster management champion, because this is what we do. And on the other side, we also offer master's classes to people that are disaster practitioners from government, you know, show them how we can use drone for preparedness, not only to be reactive when disaster has happened, but you can actually plan to eliminate the risk and risk mitigation and use it as an early warning system. So this is what we do. This please, if I'm too fast, just stop me. This is one of our clients from UNICEF who support us when we do these initiatives of applying drone technology in informal settlement. It's a very short clip.
We're out here in Alexander Township with girls who are learning how to use drones in disaster management. It's about data collection using innovative approaches that include use of drones. This is part of the work that we are doing to empower young girls to explore different career options. It's about empowering them to use new technologies such as drones. So we're very excited to partner with SA Flight Labs in empowering young girls and making sure that they too have opportunities to use drones and to deploy drones in disaster management.
Thank you. Yeah, so these are the pictures. We all over South Africa doing other master classes. You see Mr. Sheikh on the other side for official, or we train unemployed youth and official on disaster management. We are excited to mention, sorry for now, it's a close invite due to constraint. You know, we are launching our first course in disaster disaster management. It's accredited, meaning that because what happened last year, we went to the same unemployed youth. It was more of an awareness workshop of the value of drones for preparedness, you know. But now what we are doing, we are actually training them to have certificates so that they become employable when they want to in the disaster space, you know. So we are launching that next week. I'm gonna stop now. I think I'm gonna stop. Okay, this is another picture of the conference I was talking about. Remember, I said to South African Flying Lab is either we do for a workshop for the rural kids or unemployed youth, or we host conference. This is our first conference that we hosted, which I said became a success. We targeted 100, and I think about 84 people showed up, and others on visually. Yeah, so these are our sponsors. We had ACE sponsoring us. We had Santam, corporate in South Africa, insurance, UNICEF. We had our deputy minister that is responsible for disaster management from municipality opening an address. So it was a good forum where we had politicians, we had corporate, we had UN offices other than UNICEF, UNDP coming here to talk the issue of disaster, social impact investors. And later on, we had a gala dinner whereby we're thanking people, giving them awards that supported us, and within the nice and also creating an opportunity to network during that gala event. Yeah, and there were a lot of demonstration, all the drones that can be used for good, and most of them, what was exciting is company that have built these drones or airship here in South Africa. So it was quite exciting. By the way, we are having a second installment on the 1st and 2nd of November. And because climate change is the one that resulted to us having this disaster, so we had PricewaterhouseCoopers leading the panel on disaster management and climate change. Yeah, so, and also Louis, by the way, he was also helping us with the youth panel, but I thought the presentation is a bit long. I didn't put all the slides. So I'm gonna take a break and hand over to Mr. Jack Shulubane just to give you a high-level presentation. I think it's about 4 slides on the case study that we have done. We usually take an hour, but because it's 30 minutes, he'll take about 5 to 8 minutes to present the use case. Thank you. Are you still there?
We are all good, and we did have some questions and comments that popped up into our chat. Would you like to address now, or would you like to segue over to Jack? Because it looks like maybe Jack's internet is working right now.
Yes. Maybe let's hand over to Jack. Yeah.
Okay,
Then
Jack?
I'll check while she's busy. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jack, is it? I made you spotlight. I can see that you're actually on here right now. And so if we don't get into segue over. We'll go ahead and address the questions while we wait. I know he
Okay.
was struggling with the internet at the time. Okay, so
Okay.
while we're waiting, there. No, I think he even dropped off.
Oh my
Okay.
wait.
So, okay, so I would like to go ahead and ask one of the questions. Maybe he'll jump back in because I noticed he's been popping in. And so,
Hello,
Bill,
Jack. Can you
Hello?
hear us?
oh, is he
Oh,
there?
he's back. Yes. Yes, can you
Hello?
hear us, Jack?
Yeah,
Hello.
you're up, Jack.
I am here. I don't know if you can hear me.
We hear
Yes, we
you.
can hear.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, continue then. Must she continue, Daisy? Must Jack continue or must I answer question?
No, go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. While we have Jack.
Hi,
go
can you
for
hear
it.
me?
Yes, Jack.
Yes, we can hear you, Jack.
Oh, okay. Hello?
Continue,
Yes,
Jack.
so,
Yeah.
okay. So we given the regularity of or the incidences that are happening more regularly around disasters, we decided to focus on that as an area, and we chose one of the areas really, which is an informal settlement in a township called Alexander. As you can see there, this is an informal settlement, and that is where we decided to do our preparedness case study on. We used about 150 hectares of that land, the informal settlement portion of it, to acquire data using a drone, which we then processed, obviously, so that we can be able to engage the city of Joburg and the municipalities, on what is happening there, so that they can be able to see what is it that is happening there with this annual ritual. So that is what we did in the city. Can you move to the next slide? So we took, I think it was in excess of over 2,000 pictures, which we then used photogrammetry to create an orthomosaic. That's the area under study that we're looking at. It's called Stretler, and that is the high resolution orthomosaic that we were able to create of that area. And we also created a digital elevation model, out of which we were then able to do fire risk analysis and flood risk analysis. You can move to the next slide. Hello?
Hello, yes. Can you see it?
No. Okay.
so-
So in front of you, we have on the left the flood risk, and on the right-hand side, a fire risk analysis. And what we then did was to really, we had to create this, based on certain information that we could observe visually and through other means, to create that flood risk map that you see on the left-hand side and the fire risk on the right-hand side. And one of those things, obviously, using the digital elevation model, was we could then identify areas that would be first to flood, and which is, when you see that red, sea of red, that line of red that is flowing, that is the Yexke River. That is the actual lowest point within the informal settlement. There are the other two areas. On the other side, there are also some of the obviously low elevation points in the area. Then you have the yellowish portion, which then would if the flood, the water continues, the rain continues, they would be next to flood, and then the safer areas would be the green areas. But what we then did in coming up with this was to look at a number of factors, for instance, for us to be able to create that. One of those was, it was obviously for flood, it's elevation, which is lowest point. The next thing would have been where we looked at the type of material that has been used for building that. Normally we build informal settlements using corrugated iron, but it's secondhand because it's generally poor people in the area. So what typically happens is it's secondhand corrugated area, which means it has got holes all over the show. That creates space for leaks. So typically what people would do is they will cover it with canvas, cover it with plastic and all sorts of other things, which then creates the map that we have on the right, because the material that they use to cover it with is susceptible to fire. You know, when there is a fire, you then have a situation that we have on the fire risk on the right, because the dwellings are very close to each other. Barely, others you can't even see. One dwelling ends here, the next starts there. So what typically happens is if a fire was to start, the entire area will be gutted, and that's one of the other things that we were able to pick up. Where you see the green areas on the right-hand side, on the fire risk side of things, it's what accounts for that green, for those green areas is typically the brick structures. So it's structures that were built with brick, and they are therefore more resistant to fire, and also they would typically so that's what generally accounts for those green islands in the middle. Can we move to the next slide? So what we also were able to do, and we did two exercises. One is something that we did last year, and then early this year in February, we had to go and acquire new data because there was a flood that happened in February. So 2 weeks after the flood, we went in, and then we had to create a new orthomosaic. We had to do some water level rise modeling to check really. And the idea was, let us check if water rises by 5 meters, by 2 meters, and by 10 meters, who will be affected, and the size of the area, how many dwellings will be affected, but also in population terms, how many people will be affected. And that's the exercise that we did. I have the results there. It's just that I can't pull. So effectively, if we were to have a 2 meter level rise, you would have in excess of 3,000 people in that area. It's just that I can't zoom in there for you to see. But what you have in front of you before we come to this, if the water was to rise by about 2 meters, we would have about 3,000 people affected. This gives the administration and it also shows which of the dwellings will be affected, and also shows the areas where you can safely evacuate them to. But that empowers the administration to quickly know how much aid to mobilize to be able to deal with that situation. And that's why we did 2, we did 5, and we did 10, so that they can then be prepared to deal with those emergencies. Where do they start, and which are the next levels where they go to? What you have in front of you, it's essentially 2 points in time. On the left-hand side is what we did last year in May. On the right-hand side, it's an outcome of what we did in February after the flood that took place in February. And what we did there was a comparison of those two. What are the changes that have happened in the intervening period? And we were able to pick up quite a number of things. And one of those was, you can't see properly, you can't see obviously. If you were to see, there's a legend in the bottom, but that speaks to the number of illegal dumping areas that are there, comparing basically from the size of each between the two periods. A lot of them had grown. It means there was more illegal dumping happening. Some had shrunk, and we even have the actual sizes of those illegal dumping areas. We also were able to look, if we were to see, there are red circles, green, and all that, which speak to structures that had been altered, structures that had been removed, and structures that are new in the area. So we were able to show which of those structures were there or were not there in the first time where we did we did mapping of that area, and what are some of the changes that are there. Obviously, and so we were able to get a number of information which we are able to share, which we are able to show, to say, here are the changes that have happened within these two periods where we have done a mapping of this area. And we are sharing this with, obviously, the city of Joburg. So, and more other things we were able to pick up about that area, which the administration was not obviously aware of. Part of that area is generally throughout the year, whether it's raining or not, there is just water throughout. You know, the area is water soaked, generally water soaked. I don't know whether it's pipes that are leaking or what, but there's just general water in the street. We drove through there today in preparation for our exercise in the next 2 days, and there's just water throughout the year that is flowing. But a whole range of other things that we were able to pick up. And one of those things that we were able to pick up is the last part, one point there about the water level differences in the EXK River between the two periods was averagely half a meter or more in the second period, because we had just had flooding. We went to fly, I think it was 2.5 weeks after the flooding. So that accounted for the difference in water level, among other things. So yeah, I don't know if this is probably the last slide from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. Can I please just allow me to conclude with this video that you use for disasters early warning system or to respond? Then we're done.
Imina Councillor Mangena Maribe, Mayor wa Masipala wa Tzaneen. Imaka ya vuvabyi bya ngozi bya coronavirus. Ikumbela vaakatiko ku tshama emakaya va huma ntsena loko swi boha. Kambani mavoko a n'wina nkarhi na nkarhi. Basisani laha mi tshamaku kona. Loko mi ri van'wini, siyani mpfhuka exikarhi ka n'wina. A khensa. Gina Mera Mangena Maribe wa Greater Tzaneen Municipality. Kava kala ku tshaka vogolo ka coronavirus. Go khupela badudi ka moka ga bona go dula magaeng le tšwe fela ge le gapeletšega. Tlhapang matsogo nako le nako. Ge le gare ga batho siang sekgoba magareng ga lena. Re a leboga.
Mphakathi, niyanxuswa ukuba nihlale emakhaya. Uma kwenzekile waba ngaphandle, qikelela ukuba nesikhala esingango 1.5 meters komunye umuntu. Gwema nanoma yini engafaka wena nomndeni wakho engozini yokuthola lesi sifo. Sifuna wonke umuntu ahlale ephephile.
Kindly stay home, avoid gathering, adhere to social distancing of 1.5 meters when outside. Stay away from everything that puts you and your family at risk, as we wish everyone to be safe.
Nceda uhlale ekhaya, uphephe ukubambelela ekunciphiseni iphakathi kumgama we 1.5 yemitha xa ungaphandle. hlukana nayo yonke into ebeka wena nosapho lwakho emngciphekweni njengoko sinqwenela ukuba wonke umuntu akhuseleke.
Bly asseblief tuis vir my vergaderings en bly by sosiale afstand van 1,5 meter van die volgende persoon. Bly weg van alles wat jou of jou familie in risiko stel en wees veilig.
Thank you. This is the prototype that was used by Jack and other people before he joined us. So it's just since acquired and trying to sell it to the funders. Luckily, one has come on board that this is one drone that you can use as for early warning system or to evacuate people. Thank you so much. We're gonna stop presenting and give you a chance to talk now so that it took a bit longer. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. Oh, thank you. To see the use case, there's been a lot of comments coming up into the chat there about just the amount of data and the incredible work that you're doing is amazing. And so thank you both, and thank you for sharing that. And so we do have some questions, and I saw several pop up that were like the first ones on my mind. Seeing those drones that you're using, what drones are you using for this research? And Jack, if your mic is still up, if you want to share a little bit more about the drones, the background, a little bit of maybe even the software that you're using to collect the data. That has been phenomenal data.
Okay, thank you. I think the drones is typically DJI drones. I mean, what we used for the first time, I think we used the Phantom 4 Pro for data collection, and then we used Metashape Agisoft for the processing of the data. That AutoMosaic, we used Metashape, and of course we also use ArcGIS. We have a story map that we have published online using ArcGIS. So we use various software. Sometimes we do use Drone Deploy as well for the missions and all that. So we have now acquired the Mavic 3, which is very good for the mapping that we need to do in areas like that. For small areas like that, it's quite useful, and it's got a very powerful camera. Yeah, but for obviously, and even for announcements, we can still use the Mavic, but of course, we use the one that we have just shown. If the area is bigger, and we are now talking to other agencies of government to support them with cloud hailing services. You know, like we've got an election coming up next year. You know, we can help with announcements and campaigns that they would want to undertake as part of the promotions for those activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Bill had said in our comments about amazing analytics and second tier effects. And then also he asked a question, did the use case look at possible ways to mitigate the flooding, such as for dams and streams and widening and deepening the waterways? I don't know, Jack, were you able to hear the question? Maybe not. I think he's
sorry.
up.
I missed the question a bit. I couldn't hear
Okay.
part of the Hello.
All right. So Bill was just asking about, were you able to use the use case to mitigate ways of the flooding? So by building dams or
were we able to?
Pardon me?
Maybe let's type the question.
No, you are breaking up a bit. I just heard, were you able to? And somewhere in the middle, dams, I couldn't hear.
Through these use cases that you presented
Yeah.
here, are you able to mitigate some of the flooding effects?
Yes, we have proposed certain things, but obviously the actual proposals would not necessarily, with us, it's just recommendations that we give. For instance, we identified areas which are high velocity water runoff areas. And, you know, it's just clay and it's these areas, you know, whenever it rains, there's going to be huge erosion of soil. And we try to give them some recommendations. You know, why don't you plant some vegetation here so that, you know, you don't have the same high velocity runoff of water. And we have proposed a number of things, including evacuation areas where they should be based on elevation and how safe they are. So we've given the city of Joburg various recommendations, but obviously what we want to do is to engage with some of the relevant people, either if it's environment that is responsible, if it's emergency management, then we go through some of those recommendations with them. Some of them even have specialists that can actually interrogate the recommendations that we're making and probably come up with better recommendations or subject it to further studies and analysis. So we are just giving them a sense, you know, this is the layout for you and it doesn't look good. These are the hazards that you are facing and you need to do something about them. But our recommendations would have been a little bit more basic, us not being specialists in the various domains.
Presenting the ideas to them and working together as a team to monitor that, and the environmental effects and the change that is just crucial for the work that is being done. I also want to circle back, and Bill had asked another question in there kind of at the beginning of our presentation when Queen was kind of sharing about the flying labs for security, particularly the stockpiles. How long do you need a drone to maintain its position and its station? And is it flying 24/7? How long is it up there?
Well, we don't have 24/7 operations. We would do a shift, normally a shift for an evening if it's security. So our security operations would generally cover a nighttime operation. During the day, there's generally people that are there. So we just support when there is no one, which is the evening, then to do patrols over an area and make sure that people don't come in and steal the product, whatever it is, whether it's coal or the diesel that is there and all that, yeah.
And if it's during the day, it's a hotspot, you know, if the client says, usually I have a problem with this particular area, we call them hotspot for during the day. So you make sure that it's during the day, but we do cover that risk that they're paying, they're complaining about. Fly more frequently in that area.
I know we're kind of running out of time here. I just have a couple more questions that I'd like to maybe address really quick. Like one, circling back to that project, that use case again. You had mentioned that it was 2,000 images and that was stitched together. How large of an area was that? And you may have said it, I might have missed it, but it being 2,000 images, that's quite a few images that you're trying to stitch together.
I think it was 150 hectares.
Yes, 150 hectares.
Gotcha. Awesome. Large area.
Over 370 acres. I looked it up because I
Thank
didn't
you.
know either. So.
Good, Sheila. We've got Sheila. And thank you for sharing that. Oh, well, I want to circle back to when Queen was talking about all the projects that Flying Labs is doing and the training that you have offered, and just building a brighter future is just amazing. And the STEM programs that you're doing is just phenomenal. And so I would like to maybe circle back to that a little bit. And you had mentioned about workforce development, that they're segueing out into the workforce. And so what ways have you done that, where you've done the training and they've now been able to segue out?
I missed the last part. You're talking about the student, the young people.
Yes, yes. And I was
What
asking,
ways?
asking about how you have developed a way for them to transition into the workforce.
Oh yeah, actually, that's what I was trying to explain earlier. So last year, because what you do when you use a use case is an integrated approach. We use the approach to expose the unemployed youth in that same area on emerging technologies. I mentioned can be 3D printing, but drone plays a major role. So it's more of an awareness space, telling them that other career prospect. Don't focus to be a teacher or a doctor. You know, there are a lot of opportunities. So it's more of educational awareness workshop, you know, that this is the drone space. These are the opportunities. This is regulation. This is how to access the market. These are the qualifications, did the mapping, and we actually make sure that you also invite young chief pilots that they can relate to, that they can they get excited that, oh, she looks like my age, but she can fly this drone, you know. So it's more of an awareness. So they cannot be employable, but we are creating interest. We are sharing information. Only this year, we going back. That's what I was trying to display. That only this coming Thursday, we are now for the first time saying they have the information, but it's useless to have an information, but still they're still in a worse situation. Let's give them a formal qualification. In South Africa, we say it's accredited because there's a training institution that gets accredited to offer training. And it's like a drone pilot kind of story. It's just that's a different body. So let's give them formal qualification on disaster management so that for the first time, they don't necessarily know about about disasters or know about how to fly a drone for making or to respond, but they can be employable or establish their own businesses, you know. So we are launching that this coming Thursday. So I'm saying all the 700, 650 and 200 unemployed youth and 650 young school rural going children that we have trained to us awareness. We are only starting to give them opportunities now to be employable. So we don't have the number to report how many have they employed. But what we have started doing, looking to employers, social impact funders, that we are a startup, we can only make this a small difference by coming on board, that we give these unemployed youth that are affected with floods to be a disaster management champion. Come on, God, give us funding so that we scale it even more and better, you know. So this is going to take place on Thursday for the first time of one formal qualification. I don't know if it answers your question. So it was, we move from awareness to formal training now for employability. Yeah.
Fantastic. And the event coming up just sounds so exciting. And so, oh, I wish you all the success with it, and amazing how many people you have reached. It is just phenomenal what you're doing. Yeah. And so I myself have enjoyed watching all the successes that you've had along your path. It's just amazing the lives that you've touched. So congratulations on everything that you have done. And I just want to thank you both because I know we're pretty much at the top of the hour. I think there was one other question in here, but Jack, I believe, had addressed it, and we have all of your information that's in there. Somebody asked about if you are on the WhatsApp, And so looking for ways to reach out to you and love what you're doing. So with that, I do want to wrap it up. It's been an amazing hour already, right? We love our Tuesdays, and it was just phenomenal to have both you and Jack here today sharing with us, and love the work that you're doing. So I thank you. I thank you very, very much. And everybody's got a way in there in our chat. So I suggest save the chat, everybody, right? 3 dots on the lower, on my screen, it's in the lower left-hand corner. Top option is save the chat. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Queen. Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Phenomenal what you are doing. Love watching it, seeing it. Someday maybe we'll get there and see it in person. That would be
Yes,
fantastic.
we kind of Stacey, so I've just sent something on the chat, inviting everyone who's attended that we're hosting the second conference on disaster management using drones and robotics, and you're more than welcome to come to South Africa in November if you could to join the conference. Yeah, please.
Yes, someday we are gonna get
Cape
there.
Town, to be in Cape Town, yeah. It's an annual thing now. Yeah, thanks for inviting us, and
Queen,
thanks for
thank you.
listening to us. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
you're
humble.
phenomenal.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
so
Bye.
much. Thank you, Jack. Thank you for sharing all that you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Okay.
Queen.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
That kind of wraps it up.